This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon and welcome to today's charts of the day. First, wanted to take a look at REM, not the rock group from the 90s, and I think maybe they're still touring or putting out some albums, but a real estate investment trust index ETF. And I'm always a little bit weary of looking at things like this that tend to be more long-term cyclical as opposed to establishing a linear trend. But even if that's the case, and they do turn out to be more of just an oscillating thing between price extremes and price lows, we do have really good structure, and oscillators can certainly follow Elliott Wave structure within a smaller time frame, even if they don't ever follow through in a larger degree. So off of the 2016 lows here, we have a very clear 5 waves up, a very clear corrective decline, even if the February 2018 low would have been more ideal to hold as the ABC down to about a 50% retrace. It looked like it tried to start a leading diagonal but couldn't hold corrective support, so instead dropped down to test the 618 retrace of the move off of the 2016 low as a larger, more complex WXY combination pattern. Since then, that was into the December low. Since then, we have a pretty impulsive looking move up off of that low, which fits proportionately with where we would consider to look for an intermediate degree wave 1 if this is trying to start a larger degree primary wave 3. And if we zoom in here, we can certainly see a little bit better look at that 1, 2, 3, 4, and working on a 5th wave. Perhaps it tries to get one more push higher in the 5th of this wave 1. We can go ahead and add the subwaves there. So 1, 2. I think I'd probably put the top of the 3rd here and allow for one more high, though this certainly could have completed and be trying to start the corrective retrace already. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, and I have to adjust in motive wave so that the timing, the months can be the proper distance, and clear that data, and then we can zoom back in and our intermediate wave 2 won't be in such an awkward spot. So then we can push this out a little bit further. If this does get a nominal higher high, we can draw our fib retrace levels. Our normal retrace region will be about the 42 down to the 40 region. If this was all of the top of wave 1, then maybe this needs to drop a little bit closer down. Still about 42 to 40 is that Fibonacci sweet spot. We would certainly want to see that as a clear ABC move. Now, if this is going to turn into one of those types of cyclical charts and doesn't actually follow through as an intermediate degree wave 3 of a larger primary wave 3, it's still very feasible that it would at least get something akin to a measured move. And perhaps if it is more of an oscillator, maybe it looks like it's going to hold around this 41 region and gets a final spike deeper towards 39. But we would still be looking for a measured move up towards the high 40s before it then probably failed to follow through and broke into a deeper retrace. But a corrective ABC move here that holds support over the 40 and even the 39 region is certainly tradable for a move higher. Next, I wanted to take a look at another, this is a fixed income closed-end mutual fund, DSL. And it too has a pretty decent setup as it's not clear if this is supposed to be 5 waves up, but very similar to what we were looking at on REM off of the February 16, or in this case, January 2016 low. It's a small 1, 2, but that can certainly be 3, 4, and 5. But the more important structure here is that we have a clear ABC retrace to a 76.4% Fibonacci retrace, and then a very strong impulsive looking move off of that low. So I don't have the labels here as a wave 1 and a wave 2, but certainly filling out as though it were. And let's go ahead and add a Fibonacci extension. And we can see that this minor degree wave 1 hit the 618, which is the further extension that we usually expect for 5 waves up as wave 1 of a larger third, according to Avi Gilbert's Fibonacci pinball rules. So here we're looking for corrective ABC retrace into the 18.75 to 1770 region, with any potential near-term decline into maybe late summer, early fall, but that could set up a very nice move longer term, heading towards the higher 20s and even on its way up here towards the 1618 extension for at the 30 level, which we do expect based on Fibonacci pinball. If our wave 1 of our C wave or third wave hits the 618 and we get a normal Fibonacci retrace, wave 3 should target the 1236 extension that's here in gold, in the gold fibs, and then after holding a 4th wave at support, the 5th wave should target the 1618, possibly even extending beyond that. So very nice setup there in terms of another, more fixed income type of instrument that might be counter-cyclical to the market. Another thing that I wanted to look at was another closed-end ETF. Was USA. This is Liberty Funds, and it is a closed-end equity ETF. But the idea that they try to accomplish is to go after things that they feel are unloved in the market. So they're trying to look for things that have negative sentiment, and that where that might shift based on low price to sales ratios and other metrics that they look for. And again, based on an Elliott Wave count off of this 2016 low, we can count 5 waves up as a possible larger degree wave 1, and what could be all of a corrective retrace, and 5 waves up again is wave 1 of the larger degree third there. But it is certainly possible to count this as a B wave. So if we see an ABC retrace into the 5s as wave 2, that would be very, very bullish. If it starts to accelerate from there and doesn't look like a clean corrective retrace, it could be heading down here into the 4s again as a wider flat in the orange for an alt of this parentheses wave 2. So the structure of that decline, more so than just the price level, is going to be important, whether or not this in the 560 to 550 region is very bullish, or whether it needs to come down to the 4s first. And then 2 other names that I wanted to take a look at. One was USAT, which is a wireless company that does cashless payments and some other things like that, and has not had very much love recently, with a pretty significant decline off of the 2018 high. When we zoom out here, we can see that there's potential that this counts Fibonacci-wise as an ABC up for the third at a normal extension for a third wave, and then a retrace back to the normal support that we would expect if this was holding a primary degree 4th wave in a larger diagonal. The problem is the recent price action does not look like this is a completed 4th wave here or here about to hold support. In fact, this looks more like an impulsive start to something to the downside. And even if this was just going to be a wider 4th wave here, we would expect this to be trying to get higher as a B wave retrace. And the problem is that this off of the February low, it got a gap down and then has not exceeded that high. As volume has continued to dry up and internals have not recovered. So there's significant risk with this particular equity that this is more of a 1-2 and a 1-2 start to a larger degree C wave down that could be very, very bearish. So any break of the 3s here, the 330 region, and this could very quickly be on a road taking it into negative territory or just out of business. That doesn't make for a good short setup with things that are this cheap, but this is something that I noticed that there are a couple people that were requesting, and so that usually tells me when it's kind of an obscure name that some people are probably holding a long position, or we're getting a tip from an uncle about going long and just wanted to sound the warning bells that this is definitely not a safe play. And the final thing that I wanted to peek at was a biotech. I think this is one of those cannabis adjacent names, but again, off of a 2016 low, late 2016, we have a possible 5 waves up, possible corrective retrace, and maybe a small leading diagonal off of that low. If this is a small bullish leading diagonal, then it really, any further consolidation should hold about the 320 to 315 level. A break of that, and there's a significant chance that this is getting a deeper retrace that's likely going to test the lows, and it might not hold. So this is one of those names that I don't know if they're certainly a biotech. I don't know if they do anti-epilepsy medication, but I don't know if they're directly a cannabis play or if people just assume that they are. But if as more, as this starts to get a little bit more volume and some of those cannabis names take off, there's certainly potential there, provided it holds some support. And that potential could take it to the 30 region as part of a measured move. All right, we'll stop there for today, and I'll get this uploaded for you guys. Have a great evening.